Quick question for you. Have you ever delayed doing something new or making a decision on something because you were worried you weren't going to be good at it? I have. And here's the weird part. That feeling doesn't go away just because you become a manager or you get a promotion. It's always still there in the background. Sometimes it even gets louder. And it's because now it's not just you and your performance, it's your team's performance, seeming like you know what you're doing. I've been destined to manage my whole life. And that can feel difficult. But something to keep in mind is that that little voice in your head has a fixed mindset. And today I want to show you how to switch from that fixed mindset to a growth mindset. There is always going to be change and uncertainty and feedback, and we need to be able to take that in, use our growth mindset, and then do the best things with it that we can. This is an important skill for anyone to have, but especially for leaders because you're leading by example with it. And this term can get thrown around a lot, especially when talking about leaders. And it's not some kind of toxic positivity like, we can do anything, huzzah, everything is shiny and wonderful. It's not that. But it can impact so many things in your day-to-day. How you run change inside your team, how you give feedback to your team without making them shut down, how you help or support your team to experiment, fail, try again, make that culture that this is okay. This is what we have to do in order to learn what actually works well. It allows you to handle your own self-doubt without freezing or trying to micromanage and get in there and be like, well, only I can do this perfectly. I better get in there and micromanage these humans. But of course, change management is one of the most perfect examples. And there is always so much change happening in different companies. And so it's important to keep that top of mind and have strategies that you use when a lot of that's happening. Oftentimes, when something shifts, whether it be a tool, a process, a restructure, it could be the same change that's happening, but you're going to have two very different outcomes. If you're that first manager that locks up and pushes for compliance versus the other one who understands these are humans that you're trying to help and you're supportive of this. Let's talk about a few differences between a fixed mindset leader versus a growth mindset leader. How does that look different? Well, on the one hand, the fixed would say, I should already know this, whereas the growth mindset would say, I can figure this out. The fixed mindset would avoid those stretch assignments, those assignments that take them just a little bit out of their comfort zone. Whereas a growth mindset would love that, would relish in the possibility of leveling up a different skill that they haven't really worked on. And they would also delegate and coach their team members to make sure that they're able to feel comfortable and confident as they're taking on this new project, this new experiment that they're doing. This side would take a failure very personally, take it to heart. Oh, it means I'm a failure. Apply it to my whole life. Oh, whereas this side is going to treat failure like data. Don't take it personally. It's something that happened. Cool. What can I learn from it? What data is here that I can now apply so that this same mistake doesn't happen again? They demand compliance. In change, they invite input and learning. Let's talk about a specific scenario because I find it's always easier to map it if I think about something that possibly has actually happened in my past. So let's say a new process or a new software is getting rolled out. I'm sure we've all been part of that. I know I certainly have been part of many of those. And that change management can go very well or very poorly, and that can really change how well people end up adopting this new process or software. A fixed mindset leader might send out a message saying, we need to adopt this process by Friday, make sure that you're compliant with it. The team then might feel anxious, resistant, they might feel really behind because maybe that's not enough time and no questions have been answered and there hasn't been that human element. You are managing humans, not resources. Whereas the growth mindset leader is going to give more details. They're going to say, here's the new process, here's why we're doing it, this is why it's going to make our lives easier, better, faster, more successful, whatever it might be. Here are the details we need to know, and this is how we're going to figure it out together. Please let me know if you have any questions or any feedback about it. And that might be followed up by asking questions like, what do you think might get in the way? What do you see might be obstacles for this? And where do you specifically need support? This way, the team shifts from trying to be compliant to taking ownership of this, to feeling like they're part of this change as opposed to the change is just happening to them. A common mistake that happens, and this has definitely happened to me, I thought a good leader always has all the answers. They always know all the things. Incorrect. I was assigned a new project and I knew nothing about it. I didn't really understand the technology. It was something that was very much out of my comfort zone, out of my expertise, out of my experience. So secretly, I started taking LinkedIn courses. I started doing a lot of research on YouTube, trying to learn about this as best I could so that I would seem like an expert. I'd be on calls just sweating, worrying that someone would ask me a question that I wouldn't be able to answer, taking notes feverishly and then looking stuff up after to make sure that I'd be able to figure this out. But partway through that, I realized that I don't have to have all the answers, and it's okay to say that you don't have all the answers. So I talked with my team and I talked to them about how this is something that's new for me. I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying to figure it out, and I'd love us to work together to use our different strengths in our different areas to tackle this project together as a team. So it's us against the problem. And because of this, people leaned in more. They didn't sit around waiting for me to direct them and give them exactly what they need to do. We brainstormed together and took little chunks of it off and then worked as a team to create this project and the end product. And that's the thing. Your team doesn't need you to be perfect and have all the answers. When you show that you are human and humble and honest and curious and truly care to have us be successful, that makes such a big difference. It humanizes you, making you someone that they can approach to ask questions, someone that is real as opposed to some kind of robot or animatronic who's pretending to be perfect. And it's also leading by example. You're showing that growth mindset. You're showing that curiosity. You're being vulnerable by saying, I don't know everything there is to know about this. And most people don't. And that's okay. That lets people know that they can also tell you, you know what, I've taken on this project, but this part, I have no idea about it. So they're more likely to talk to you about it instead of panicking about it or railing against maybe a change that's happening. If you remember nothing else from this video, I would say to think about these 3 practical shifts that I really like and think about often. Number 1, move from feeling like I have to have all the answers to asking better questions. Instead of saying, this is what we're doing, say, what am I missing here? Number 2, switch from blaming to debriefing. So instead of saying, why did this go wrong? This was a failure kind of thing, that fixed mindset, failure is terrible, taken very personally. Try that growth mindset of what did we do? What did we try? Where did we struggle? Where can we improve for next time? I like to call it doing sort of a post-mortem on a project. How could we have done better? And then the number 3 one is let's move from perfection to iteration. Instead of thinking we need to make this perfect, flawless thing, let's make something and then iterate on it. Iterate, learn as we go, take feedback, learn and continue to add to it. And this is especially helpful during big changes. You make small little changes, you have feedback loops, you make adjustments and iterations along the way. I actually have a post-it that says this, progress over perfection, and I could not agree more. To wrap this up, the growth mindset isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about everything will work out. Of course, things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go badly. Projects aren't going to be perfect. But as long as we shift to that growth mindset of what can we learn, how can we grow, how can we improve for next time, that is going to shift from a team that will just be silent through uncertainty or change or feedback or discomfort to trust. From compliance to ownership. If this has hit home for you and you want to go a little bit deeper or you want something to remember what we've talked about, there's a PDF that you can download and it will go through a bit of this information and have some suggestions on other areas where you can dive a little deeper. There's also an AI prompt that you can use and you can put that into ChatGPT or whichever one you like using and it will walk you through a way to learn some of these skills a little more and test some scenarios out with it to practice these ideas of giving feedback, for instance, with that growth mindset in mind. And whether you're new to managing or you've been doing it in years, these things are those foundations that are always good to brush up on and remember. These are humans in front of you, not resources. So I'm so glad you've done this little video training with me. I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day.